must-win situation for FaZe.
Yeah, both teams kind of just posturing right now. That's a big jump in from Factor Fiction right early on. So far it is bloodless, but Zoms puts an end to that as Spirit goes down immediately from a headshot clip.
And just like that, you see FaZe pressing the advantage. They get the early pickoff, and they push in the Rise. Rise, though.
So right now they just have to find some sort of entry. That's really nice. Locke takes out his counterpart. Rock is down.
And now Rise turning it right back around with the first 2 opening kills. Retzi moving in, and he's going to fall into the pit, but not before being forsaken to that rifle butt. And this is going all in way of Rise on this fight. Mikey, a little bit late to the party, just rolling in for anything, and he's going to get nothing as Rise will retake this point. But being tentative on how they engage. They lose Forsaken, and here comes Mikey. He's going to dive in. I think this is because if he wants to die, he'll have the res available, but Shadowburn moving in, grabs Locke, and FaZe, they might not need to blow as much on this as they do start pushing Rise back.
Resurrection could be a fight-winning ult. If you lose 2 and then you get 2 in return, then all of a sudden hitting Q just gets you a 6v4, and most Overwatch teams are going to win that 6v4 and completely close it out. Some last-second stalls will come in as Factor Fiction Tesla's down to
Barrage looking directly for Retzi, drops on Retzi's head, but no, the sound barrier keeping Retzi nice and alive during that. 2 kills going the way of the Rise, and that barrage getting countered, leading Rise to getting right back on the point with authority.
Able to complete
pressure here, Hex.
It's been very tentative here. Right after they just got a pick onto Zenyatta from a mile away, they still didn't go in. Shadowburn takes down Desra. They're going to have a huge advantage so far in this fight, but it's taken them very long. So long that it's been 98%. A late Dragon Blade, almost unnecessary there, but they do need to clean up this point.
Well, they are able to clean it up, and they clean it up so cleanly that not only do they not lose anyone in the process, but of course they're able, does not connect, but makes Locke blow the Transcendence. Factor Fiction is out. Here comes Retzi. Raucus, the timer started on his resurrection if he wants Factor Fiction back in, but he's taken down by FaZe, and Rise now in a great position to take this point.
New Lucio is now Beastio. He can do so much damage out of nowhere, and I think players still adjusting to that fact. A cleanup towards the
Spirit firing right back. Air war is underway, but you look at the ground war, Midnight is going to get knocked out of his mech here early on, and this is going to give FaZe a little bit more pressure as Spirit goes down, effectively a 6v4 here. A lot of opportunity now for FaZe to secure this first point.
I don't think you can overrate how important D.Va is on this stage, and especially when Pharah v Pharahs are going on. D-making a D.Va already pretty much wins you the Pharah v Pharah.
Comes FaZe off the counter engage. Soundbear is in on 4 people, but Raucus just gets domed by Spirit early on. FaZe, though, fighting back despite being poked down. A lot of people are low and yet not out of the fight as Rise down to their last few members on the point. But the damage takes its toll, and Rise very well could pull this back.
Oasis as a whole, this stage it seems in particular, just a brawl. It's a constant fight. It's very difficult to get the entire team wipe that you need to be able to flip it around.
From afar, but Spirit in on the flank, putting Mikey in pressure. The fight now going in as Rise pops a Transcendence and counter engages. Faz goes down early on, but Raucus goes down as well. There will be no res in this fight.
No, that is absolutely brutal for them. They were going to need that rest to get a clean fight as Retzi puts down on his tactical visor. Factor Fiction goes down. Only a few remaining on the point, trying to keep it up. And this is a brawl. Shadowburn showing that even Winston is viable as DPS as he is able to clean up the remainder of that fight. However, enough time remains that we will see another contestant.
So, Rise now, they have to throw themselves in the point. They can't look for great positioning here. They just need to get it started, lest the chat serenade them with C9s. Soundbearer going to come in here from FaZe. This is going to allow them to counter-engage early on. Mikey looking for Spirit. Lands one rocket, not able to find another. Under pressure, has to back out. 2 quick kills here for Rise, as they might bring this back. They force out the res from Raucus. Still anyone's fight here. Retzi versus Zoms in the back. Tracer on Soldier. Retzi able to back away, and he's going to take the jump pad up. Still in this fight at 26 health, moving back around as Rise is fighting for their lives here on Oasis.
They forced the early runs, which was so good. Desra went down 99%, but now he's going to be back in the fight with this Primal Rage. Actually uses it as a mobility option to get back in. Self-destruct comes out, zones out just a little bit. Retzi will go down. That is their main source of damage. Mikey completely denied his barrage with the Matrix. Their good play. Hard to call this one, but it just seems like Zoms comes back and gets Midnight. So back and forth.
This is extremely back and forth right now. Raucus just waiting for his team to get back in there and takes down Spirit, the Helix rocket. So Raucus coming back in. Raucus versus Retzi now in progress. Both ducking and jiving at their health stations. But FaZe, a bit more positioning here on Rise. Rise backing up, stalling out just enough as their respawns come in, but here comes Locke. Transcendence is gonna be up. He needs to get a little bit closer to the fight to drop it, but they lose Desra and FaZe before he arrives. Things getting more and more grim here for Rise. Here comes the Attack Visor coming out. The Transcendence is here, and Retzi still gets bursted down as FaZe is able to secure the point and take the round.
Shadowburn had a beautiful leap there. I think Retzi is actually having the better part of it on the ground, that it's been mitigated a lot of the time. Retzi takes a lot of damage early, but finds Shadowburn. That means that they're going to be down tanks. That's 2 quick kills from Rise Nation.
Rise striking first, striking hard. 4 unanswered kills to open this up here. Mikey will take down Locke, but it is too little too late, and they're going to get first cap here on the Garden. So perhaps the Mercy... Mikey coming in over the top, protected, able to get Spirit with the aid of Zombs early on, so Mikey's approach successful. A long-range rocket removes Retzi from the fight, and FaZe 2 picture-perfect kills to open this up. This should be decisive and should flip it right back the way of FaZe.
That's exactly how you want to open a fight, to be able to take down both supports without any healing. All of that damage will be permanent, so a very quick indicator of if you're going to win or lose a fight. Did both their supports?
Certainly not. Transcendence in the Attack Visor is something that can create a lot of room because it's pretty difficult to take down a soldier who's in the middle of a trance. That's probably what we're going to see. The Transcendence comes out and Zombs just eats the rocket to start things out here. Retzi doesn't need to use the Attack Visor right away here, X. He's trying to save it as long as possible. 3-1 in kills for Rise, and they might get away with saving these ults, and that's going to be a big deal for winning the fight that comes after.
Yeah, they absolutely needed to have some sort of conservation there. Now, Spirit was forced into conservation as he died, but that means they will have Barrage for next.
Comes out late, looking for Retzi. Doesn't get what he's looking for, but Retzi falls to Forsaken. And note, Raucus still hanging here in the back. Can res all the Fallen from FaZe in a moment. And he's just going to use it on those 2 people. And FaZe now in a great position to retake this point and take the round.
Well, Spirit is going to barrage right into the defense matrix, because why not? He will flip it back over. I just feel like Spirit not getting the value he needs out of this fair. And of course he doesn't have a Mercy, so he's kind of sledding uphill here, but he held on to that barrage for 2 minutes, and that's not great. And I think FaZe is going to take the lead here.
FaZe definitely looking good, and you see FaZe blow the Sound Bear just a bit ago to secure it out. Late Sound Bear from FaZe just trying to stay alive and buy a little bit more stall, and it does. It works out enough, but unfortunately every kill going the way of FaZe from the perspective of Rise. Setup for FaZe has been better. Notably though, there is no fair being run by Rise this time around. Spirit instead on the Tracer, so it's a much heavier focus on the ground war, but it is going to free Mikey to be more aggressive from the top. Still, doesn't make the most of it here as Retzi and Spirit pick up the first 2 kills. Suddenly, Mikey in full retreat. D.Va in his face, can't stand the fight any longer. Rise should be able to take this first point.
It's just really well played. If you're only going to play the ground war and you don't want to run a combo, then wait for them to come to you, which they did. They run it very often, so it's just a really smart adjustment. Locke goes down to Zombs really early, though, for FaZe.
And you see here from Rise trying to make this most of great impact. They do take down Zombs. Pulse Bomb comes out late. This could knock Factor Fiction out of the mech, but no. Able to get healed up in the middle of it, and Rise suddenly bleeding players. 2 down immediately, and Spirit finding himself very much all alone here towards the very end as he looks to bring it back, but not going to happen. FaZe holding on towards the end, and that's going to let them flip this point.
Comes out for the team in control. You expect kills off it. They get nothing.
Retzi uses Attack Visor pretty much just to take down Zombs, but has a party with Shadowburn in the corner, and Shadowburn gonna win that with the Primal Rage. Still a winnable fight here for Rise. Spirit takes down D.Va early on, chasing down Shadowburn, going to find that last kill, and Rise. Everyone mostly healthy, but Mikey now, bit of trouble, gets healed up at the last moment, builds the barrage, and now is moving back in. Takes Midnight out of the mech, takes the Midnight period, and Locke now in rough shape, eats a rocket directly, and the barrage won't even be needed to finish him off.
Now, all in favor of FaZe right now. No resurrection even needed. Desert does try to dive onto Raucus, but Raucus gets slipped back into Spirit, but it should not matter. Numbers hugely in favor of FaZe here. They do flip it back over.
FaZe able to recap in the midst of overtime, but Rise still with 1 more fight of it.
End up soundbearing here. You were correct. Raucus still in the skies, but gotta find a way to take him out of the equation.
Late barrage coming in from Mikey, takes down Desro to start this off. It's a good opening for FaZe. Rock is still very much up and alive, not in danger of not getting the resurrection off. Forsaken first to fall. Here comes Retzi. Tac Pfizer is out, and you gotta think Rock is his #1 priority. Can't find him here. Rock is holding on. Is this gonna be a 3-man res? Takes up 2 at the very end, but Retzi just piling on. Doesn't even care that heroes were rezzed as kill after kill coming in from the soldier play. Rise punishes the resurrection. They're going to retake this point and could be forcing a round number 5.
Really one-sided there, and they will force a round number 5. Kind of odd that this is where the first fight is occurring. Desro goes a little bit too deep, so Zoms ends up taking out a Scientist. Zoms not done, Faz now out, and Zoms might have won this fight all by his lonesome, able to take down 2 very quickly.
Retzi tries to pull it back and Grand Forsaken, but his team is dead all around him. There's only so much and FaZe might be able to pull this fight back yet, despite the early wasted sound barrier.
It's been very difficult for Locke as Desro's been trying to get aggressive, so he has no one back there to drop a shield and protect him. But meanwhile, after that first pick, it has been all Rise Nation as they come in and take down several of the heroes, only Forsaken on this point with Shadowburn.
And the interesting thing is that Locke didn't even have to use a Transcendence. That was just off the early sound barrier. And just, you know, it could have been good to deal with that sound barrier, Hex. With his inner robot self, Mikey, coming in over the top archway once more. Holding on to the barrage, looking for Desro. Desro gonna have to go out and no. Rocket's still going into Desro, going to take him out with the aid of Factor Fiction. And it's gonna be a late Transcendence coming out here from Locke, where their Rise is already in a bit of a hole. Yet, with Rockets going down, evens things up a little bit more, Hex.
Yeah, Raucus being out of the fight is absolutely a huge deal as Retzi and company combine for the remainder of those kills, but they need to clean it up completely. If they end up doing so, it seems like FaZe will still be at about 99%.
Them looking for the first pickup. They get onto Spirit. Mikey drops a barrage in the hallway, taking down 2 before falling himself. Raucus might just res him for good measure. Who knows? But FaZe in a great position here, and they're gonna res. They're going to go up to a full 6 here. They retake the point, and now the question is if Rise can even delay this out. Retzi falls, and no, Spirit does not get to the point in time. That's gonna be FaZe taking map number 1. Has been in the past, but you take a look at this Rise offense, it is very much committed to the dive. They got through the archway with no problems, but they are struggling getting that first kill. Poke back and forth going on, but Factor Fiction does fall as Locke fending things off here in the back. Zoms lucky to leave with his life towards the very end in a 65 situation as Rise now going even deeper. FaZe needs to pick off a kill soon, or this fight will very much go in the way of Rise as Retzi picks down 2 with that final pulse bomb.
You know, Retzi's going to get all the glory for that, but I want to give Desro a ton of credit for staying at the front gate as Winston, cleaving them down and staying alive during it. All their attention was focused on the angry Scientist with the Tesla.
Taking the fight. They want to buy as much time as possible for respawns to get in, and here they go. The Winston's going to leap on to the payload to at least stall it out. Both Retzi taking down Zoms early on. It's already a 65. The Transcendence is out, but no! Locke gets booped off by Factor Fiction. Shadowburn, Dragon Blade out. Gonna look to bring this back. Ends up falling to Midnight in the back, and the defense for FaZe not quite enough to stop this castle gate from being knocked down. Primal Rage, and even with Primal Rage, Factor Fiction lucky to get out of there with his life. Rise with momentum on their side. Mikey trying to reverse it with the Tac Visor in the back, not getting the most out of it because the Transcendence nullifies most of it. Does find Midnight towards the very end, and what is still a 5 versus 5 fight.
Spirit able to take down his primary target as Factor Fiction will go down. Spirit now comes around the corner. A nice pulse bomb did land as well, and they are cleaning up the remainder of these tanks. Spirit has Death Blossom, could be looking to go off the top rope or just camp a spawn. He's actually just going to sit right outside here waiting for anyone to jump in.
And he brushes down Mikey successfully. He's out of the fight with that Tracer on Soldier Violence. Rise, sensing blood in the water here. FaZe struggling to get back in. Forsaken falls to Spirit, and now with the 6v4, it is looking better and better here for Rise. And this is where Reaper can clean up. The Spirit just goes off, has 2, looking for the 3rd, just treats Mikey to the people's elbow at the very end as Rise finishes out with 2. This is their window, Hex. If they fail this attack, they're very likely to get full held.
Well, they're going to push Nubot 4 ultimates because everyone is so close. The economy's been so good for Rise. There's the grab.
The Graviton comes in. Forsaken is there with the Transcendence in response. Shadowburn in the back of the Dragon Blade, but no, he got Earth Shattered. He's getting hammered. He is still somehow alive. Deflects right out of it. Zoms, they're on the cleanup, so FaZe, it was looking a little bit dicey for a moment, but off of the play from Zoms and Shadowburn, FaZe is going to take this first point and get the payload moving.
It does say something about having your ults exactly when you want them rather than getting them
Here, and what choice do you have? You have to pop the Transcendence and go in on the payload to delay, but it's certainly not looking good here from FaZe as Retzi comes in with the Tac Visor flank. This should seal it off.
Yeah, the Earth Shatter knocks down any hope remaining. Factor Fiction is going to knock Midnight off, but Midnight pops his own rage. A lot of
everyone getting raged here. Factor Fiction was hoping for the Hail Mary knockoff on the bridge. There are environmental kills to be had, but not this time. Midnight holds strong with a primal rage of his own, and we see Rise Nation striking right. We have been seeing a lot more of her in comp. Certainly take a look at recent Apex results. But more Widow is good in my books because it has been a while. And Mikey finding Spirit early on there, Tracer on Tracer violence, and this is going to let FaZe go far more aggressive here early on. And Rise already, they back out, Hex. They don't want any part of this fight.
Yeah, nor should they. They're already down one, and going in right now would just be a death sentence. If they send both tanks in to try to deal with Widow, which you almost have to do, then everyone else is just going to get rolled on. And once they see the Widow, they put Retzi onto the Widow. He would be their Widow counter. He's the best hit scan player on their team, so we've got a French woman duel.
This puts a lot of faith in your Widow, respectively, on each team, as Retzi diving in, takes down Zoms with a beautiful grapple shot. And now, not only is it a 6v5, but it's a 6v5 where your main answer to a Widow has been taken down. It forces Shadowburn to dive on the Retzi, and it doesn't work out. So, effectively, Retzi winning that Widow duel gave 2 picks to Rise in the end. And this could give Rise the fight outright.
Forsaken decides to peek. That is not exactly the hero that you want to be peeking on. He found himself behind a pillar and just stuck, had no chance.
Things right around. Transcendence is going to come out here from the side of Rise, but they're still under a lot of pressure. The Sound Barrier comes out here from FaZe, and they sense the opportunity. Hex says Zoms going off and finds Lock.
Yeah, it's just a really nice communication there, as they know they had pushed out Retzi, so it gave Zoms a lot of free reign to do what he wants. Retzi does come back in and takes out his counterpart, but it is too little too late. A lot of big bodies on the point, and Retzi's going to get jumped on.
Retzi.
With more of these types of battles, but now their back is against it, and they're going to have to pop Sound Barrier and go on, and just hope that Retzi can deal with Zoms in the backline.
Well, they have the Sound Barrier. They also have the Transcendence if it is necessary here. So far, it's even enough that Locke says, yeah, I'm going to use the Transcendence. 5 versus 5. Retzi out of the fight, so Zoms has perhaps more space to work with, but no, he was taken out. He goes Soldier instead. Very even on the fight, but FaZe actually fighting this back, in large part due to the tank ultimate. Shadowburn made a lot of room, but Rise not out of this here just as Midnight takes down 2 with that self-destruct.
FaZe should have easily had this. Their Sound Barrier came down way later than Rise's, so they had a huge advantage, unable to capitalize on it as Midnight was able to clear out space, but now as they start coming back in, Pulsebomb will go down, but Rise still has 3 on this point. Zoms hiding, will end up taking down Desro. This is so back and forth, but Rise did flip it back over in their favor, but only one more fight for FaZe needed.
Midnight is still living as Baby Diva, finally going down the Rockets, who just treats him to the boop up close, ends up with the double. And FaZe, even though they lost the point, they might be retaking this quickly and with authority off of those 2 pickoffs. And they do retake it. Overtime is in progress, and Rise once more on the hot seat. They will leap in with Winston. Retzi back into the fight, but they have a hole to dig themselves out of as Tom's immediately counter-firing on the 76 of his own, picking up 2. And this is looking more and more like FaZe should be able to get this first round.
It's been so fun to watch the tactical dance between Zoms and Retzi. It started off Widow v Widow, now it's been 76 versus 76. We'll see what both these teams want to do. It does look like it is going to be Mikey on the Pharah, no Pharah on the other side of things.
Desro right now just leaping in with his Diva. It's a nice engagement from Rise positioning-wise. They catch FaZe a bit off. They're going to get the free Diva D-Mech there, and nothing too crazy here. Just, it's good early positioning that really doesn't leave FaZe with a lot of options to pull things back.
No, not at all, but Retzi will come in and grab a couple here right away, and I cannot stress enough how important for
Retzi's Hack Visor. This shouldn't be very pretty for FaZe.
No, there is a barrage, but I think a barrage is a death sentence at this point. Tactical Visor will take down Raucus, so that means there's not going to be
people right away, Justin touching the point to cause overtime. Late Sound Barrier comes out, only helping Forsaken here stall just a little bit longer, but too much power for Rise at the very end, and they even up the score 1-1.
Why wouldn't they? These two teams.
They're winning the poke war pretty heavily here. You look at the health bars as this fight takes place, and down goes Raucus. The poke from Rise was much better early in this fight. Now, even with Spirit going down, there's still an advantage to Rise, as Retzi has all the space in the world to treat this as his own personal shooting gallery, picking up 3 before it's all said and done.
And there's been so many times over the last couple of stages that you just see Mikey having to retreat
Heavily with Attack Visor, and here comes Attack.
Well, Desro's going to take out Forsaken during this fight. A lot of ults going down all over the place, and it is just a bloodbath on the point. Self-Destruct will clear it out, but it's very difficult to tell who's going to come out on top of this one.
Well, the resurrection certainly helps FaZe quite a bit here. It's a late res after both teams have suffered casualties. FaZe able to reinforce themselves and fighting Tracer and Pharah, but now he pulls out the Attack Visor and looks for the W. Raucus falls, doesn't get Mikey. In fact, Mikey switches around. The barrage grabs 2, but it's not quite enough. More even than it should be, though, for the advantage that was coming in here from Rise.
Yeah, a lot of damage being done, and now they have to have a desperation sound barrier on only FaZe and Midnight on the point, and despite that, Pulse Bomb's going to be able to distribute Midnight, and not enough bodies here.
FaZe is able to pull back what was a very tough situation. Rise, kill after kill going against them. They're not able to keep this in overtime. Maybe they'll get those wins, but the poop would have been there anyways. So, on control off the back of great Genji play. See if Shadowburn can reclaim some of that former glory as he is diving right to the back. Is Zenyatta in his face, and he grabs Locke immediately with a pinpoint assassination.
And that's the Shadowburn we all know and love, unless you have to play against him as a support, I suppose. Those 2 quick kills will mean that FaZe should be able to take this first point, and Rise not even going to contest. They're not going to throw bodies on. They just know that they lost this fight because the ever-looming threat of Shadowburn, who has killed him many times this stage, they are going to initiate with Sound Barrier already on the side of on FaZe.
And Retzi ends up getting zoned out there. Doesn't get as much as he wants. 5 versus 5 in this fight. And this is where Shadowburn can really turn this. But no, he gets taken out by Retzi. No Dragon Blade will be built. And Rise still fighting, still very much in this game. And though we're in overtime, it is looking like Rise is going to get this point unless Mikey came out with some serious heroics.
Forsaken back in this fight, looking to find a chance to boop off Desro. Desro having none of it.
But Mikey takes down 2 before falling himself. He's opened the door here. Shadowburn back into the fight. Dragon Blade out, very low on health and just not control at this point. Retzi evens it up with the double kill, and despite the early kills from Mikey, it might not be enough.
Retzi will get chased by the loving rocket of Mikey, but his damage had already been done. It is cleanup time for Locke as he funds 2, and Rise Nation in position to take this to a 5th stage.
Shadowburn had built up the Dragon Blade, but he gets burned down before he can get out and heal. Suddenly, we're in overtime, but the res is there. Here comes Shadowburn, unleashed. Going the right into the Transcendence, though. He's neutralized. He's moved back, getting nothing dealt to his Dragon Blade before Midnight takes him down. And suddenly, Rise, now in the driver's seat. Dragon Blade of their own coming out. Spirit looking to tear through that Diva mech. Almost gets knocked into the pit. Not quite, though. Finds Zoms, and Rise getting the last 3 kills, now 4. On the verge of pulling back this round entirely.
I mean, a lot of that. We talked a little bit when we were just watching the other games, how I think the mark of a great 76 is getting kills with Helix rockets.
To FaZe, because what better the poke and look for one-shots than a Widow? So at some point, Rise needs to make a move here and go in. This is looking like it. Winston going into the point, and they're using more cover to deal with this Widow. They're not diving the Widow. They're just diving into a pit and not giving Zoms the sight lines he needs to do this. Finally, though, Spirit goes to the back.
Everything, and they do. Zom still holding on to Tactical Visor, though, could bring this back.
Attack Visor is out from Zoms, looking for anything. The Transcendence ruins his day, and Midnight confirms it. Finds him in the back. 3-1 in the last few kills here for Rise, as they are ejecting FaZe off of the point. And for a team that was on the verge of losing last round, Hex, to come in this dominant on Ruins, FaZe about to give up this map, and that is potentially crucial for the rest of the series.
They're trying to get back onto it. Zoms Helix down, Mikey Helix down. This should be it. Yet even more Helix kills for Retzi. Robbins takes the series lead.
Forcing Shadowburn back early on, and Rise now getting a bit of the advantage here in the poke war, although They've gone a little bit deep in, and they're getting pushed back. Still, Retzi with 2 kills early on, looking for more. Lucio not able to do too much in the building, so despite actually getting poked down a bit heavy, they were able to confirm kills before FaZe was, and that's going to be countering that. Both ultimates trading out early on as Forsaken sends Faz for a ride. Boops ahoy, 5 versus 5, as Rise now starting to make some inroads. Retzi came close to dying, but the resurrection coming out could flip this fight right back over the FaZe.
It's still very close as Mikey and Shadowburn combine, and this has been the DPS potential that this FaZe team has if they can just realize it. And I don't want to say it's as simple as putting Shadowburn on Genji, but ZP, it might be as simple as putting Shadow. Reaper can go great here, especially when these first fights always happen in these small corridors.
Mikey bit off way more they could chew there, was trying to nullify an entire team and ends up losing his mech rather early here. Spirit using Train to his advantage, picks off 2 here early on with room for more. Deep diving into Winston here, every shot doing terrible damage, and even though he almost dies in the process, he's able to back out and Rise gets first control. But here's the problem, Hex. Shadowburn's back into this fight, 2 members of Rise just died. They can flip this immediately.
Yeah, not going to be difficult for them too, as now the snowball is complete. Faz leaves them with a
fan of Kenny Loggins, as it turns out. Soundbear comes in from FaZe though, so they're not done yet. They're still deep diving in yet. It leads to Factor Fiction's death. Perhaps a little bit too bloodthirsty here was FaZe, and they're paying the price as Rise. That was a beautiful disengage and re-engage. What more can you ask for, Hex?
Not much more, and this is why I think so highly of Rise Nation sometimes. If you can get games like this out of Midnight and out of Spirit, which I think right now are probably on their 2 best or at least most comfortable heroes, or they were 6 months ago anyway, they can look dominant against very good teams. Midnight had a great game, Spirit had a good game, and you know a lot of what you're going to get from the other guys. So when those 2, as now they try to make late rotations onto the point, Spirit going down early is going to hurt them. Now a 6v5 in favor of FaZe 6v4.
Zoms rode the line there. He almost died on that pickoff, but it pays off. Still, 4 versus 4. It gets fought right back. Retzi handling the 76 rather well right now, and he's going in for the risk. Coming in on the flank, doesn't want to get booped off. Is able to avoid the boop, as he is off on an adventure right now. Oh my goodness, Retzi just literally hanging on to dear life right now. But the distraction works out. Midnight picks up 2, and Rise is now in a much better position to take this point.
Very possible. Effective Vision's going to come in, but that might have been a little bit misguided, as he and Raucus will both give up their lives for very little stall. Everyone's going to have ults up. Again, this comes down to a point where it has to largely be about execution.
This is an ultimate showdown, but Rise Nation has a Spirit positioning, and what a deflection! Forsaken take it down immediately. Spirit pulls out the blade, makes it a double kill, and when you lose your Zenyatta before you can hit Transcend, it's going to be a bad fight. And wait, Shadowburn, wait, why? He could have potentially gotten out of there. There might have been more potential for delay, but he just Dragon Bladed 1v4.
That ambitious Dragon Blade, as I like to call it. I mean, it was pretty late.
Going for them. Either way, though, Retzi going to stick with the same strategy of trying to contain Mikey from the back on the 76. Both teams going in, and the boop comes out, almost knocking 2 members of Rise out, but the positioning very much in FaZe's favor here as Shadowburn and Mikey dominate the latter end of this fight. And then Mikey goes for a swim in the koi pond.
Well, I mean, it's a celebratory dip. And yeah, absolutely exactly what happened the first time they were on this stage. They just got the DPS play that they needed. Mikey and Shadowburn able to get. If they can't pull this off, then they're just doomed on this stage.
It very well could be, but Spirit with authority coming in, gets the Genji on Genji kill. Mikey tries to pull back the barrage, but it's just not enough. The resurrection, though, could be enough. Raucus with the res, new life to FaZe once more, and Spirit gets nothing with this Dragon Blade due to the sound barrier. So FaZe looking far healthier here, 98% to 13, and they only have a little bit more to go here, Hex, to even this up and bring us to a final round number 5 here on Lijiang.
At desperation time, they're just going to wait for everyone to come in, but until that kill feed starts showing some blue, you cannot hold out any hope. No one able to get back. The stage was going to come up was going to favor Rise, and I'm just glad to see Reaper back in it.
Well, speaking of Reaper, Spirit just diving into the back line without a whole lot of fear early on here. Really, I mean, Reaper can be scary when he runs into you like that, and certainly scary if you're running a Winston. Both teams trading out poke here. Spirit gonna have to use Wraith for him, and in the interim, Retzi goes down, so more on Spirit's back here as it goes into a 5 versus 5. Both teams down a key DPS, and Rise actually struggling a bit for positioning, but they are picking their moments to dive right back in, as both teams making this very even to start things out.
A lot of low health bars, and Shadowbird will finally go down to an ex-Retzi Helix, and he will follow it up by taking out yet another Raucus. Now down, that means Mikey should be easy picking somewhere. That is a triple kill for Retzi before he finally gets pushed on, but way too late.
And it's
Graviton because Midnight went down. So, you know, silver lining, you're absolutely right. You can grab and just let Spirit walk towards it and simply M1 it. Lock very low right now, has to be careful to not die. Midnight still looking for the right target for his time. Lock forced to transcend. There's the grab.
The Graviton comes in and it connects. 3 people moved in for death. The group hug that no one wants, and Rise makes it a clean team fight indeed. That gives them the map. That gives them the series. Rise Nation defeating FaZe 3-1, and yet 3-1 is not really